Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our constituency office in Saskatoon University in Saskatoon, Silver Springs. We've had very much a focus the last week on making life more affordable for everyone, but also a focus on making life more affordable for young people and young families. And that's why we committed to lowering the income tax for everyone in the province. That's why we had committed to increasing the graduate retention program by 20%, why we had committed to increasing the first-time homebuyers tax credit here in Saskatchewan. Well, in 2020, we had made a commitment to Saskatchewan people as well to cover continuous and flash glucose monitoring and supplies for children and youth up to the age of 18. That was a campaign commitment that we made in 2020 and one that we delivered on shortly after. Well, continuous glucose monitoring significantly improves the quality of life for our children that are living with diabetes, as well as, I would say, improves very much the quality of life for their families. So instead of having to find times and opportunities for children to test throughout the day, we most certainly kept that promise so that they did not have to find those times for them to test. So today I'm pleased to announce that if re-elected, a Saskatchewan Party government would extend that coverage for continuous and flash glucose monitoring and supplies to individuals to 25 years old as opposed to only 18. Increasing the age limit of these supplies will benefit around 700 additional young adults, youth in our communities. That's in addition to the current 600 children and youth who qualify under the current program. These extensions will improve the quality of life for young people that are living with diabetes. And it will help ease the financial burden for our young people who are just starting out life, maybe finishing school, maybe attending graduate classes or post-secondary classes, or maybe starting a job or even starting a family in a Saskatchewan community. During this campaign, the Saskatchewan Party has also outlined our plan to make life more affordable for seniors. Income tax reductions that will save a seniors couple $3,100 over course of the next 4 years. An additional $1,000 for seniors on the home renovation tax credit and a $1,000 a month increase to the personal care home benefit. Significant increases and significant commitments that will make life more affordable for our community seniors, our parents and grandparents. Well, today we are announcing an additional step for about 9,000 seniors in the province of Saskatchewan that may be living with diabetes. A re-elected Saskatchewan Party government will also cover the cost of glucose monitoring for seniors over the age of 65. Making life more affordable and improving the quality of life for young adults and seniors that are living with diabetes in our Saskatchewan communities, that's one way that we are able to utilize the strength of the Saskatchewan economy to mean a brighter future for everyone that lives here. We're joined here today by Molly Morris and Deb Davies, who are living life with diabetes, and they maybe would just have a comment or two on what a continuous glucose and flash monitoring and maybe even an insulin pump or this program might mean to them. So where is Molly and, right here, Molly and Deb.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Molly Morris. I'm 22 years old, and I have been living with type 1 diabetes since I was 7 years old, so for 15 years. Diabetes has fully changed my life. I say the day that I was diagnosed, my brain chemistry was immediately altered. There hasn't been a second that has gone by that I haven't thought about my blood sugar. And having a continuous glucose monitor that I have right now, I've had it for 10 years, it has changed my life. It has made me feel more safe, and to be able to know that it can be covered. I'm kind of in that perfect range where I'm a student, so I'm above 18, about to be 25. Having that coverage will be amazing for not only me, but all type 1 and type 2 diabetics across the province. So I just want to say thank you for making this possible. It truly has changed my life, and I don't remember life without diabetes. So to be able to have this technology available for me, it just means everything to me. So thank you so much.
And I think extending the coverage for seniors will make a huge difference. And what this tells me is that government does care about seniors. Listening to Molly's story, it's heartbreaking, yet we need to celebrate it. So thank you to this announcement, and I really appreciate the support to seniors.
Molly and Deb have a newfound mutual love for steep tea, and have requested that the next announcement would be at Tim Hortons serving steep tea. So I don't know if we'll be able to grant that. But if there's any questions prior to getting into more general questions, I might include Molly or Deb on today's announcement. We'd be happy to take them now. Yeah, so the cost for the entire program is a little over $20 million. Again, we'll have a fully costed platform in the next number of days. But you might be able to speak to the continuous glucose flash monitoring, the per person cost of the app and every monthly cost.
A little bit. It kind of depends. There's different brands, of course. I have a Dexcom, so this is a G6. Roughly $200 per time. You're changing it every 10 days. So it's quite significant. On top of other things that you may need for diabetes. So having this covered, such as like dextrose tabs, dextrose drinks, things for low blood sugars, all that kind of stuff, being able to use that money towards things like that, another life-saving thing, is it's really nice.
Some significant changes in healthcare innovation. We were talking earlier this week about some of the early detection opportunities that just simply weren't available when it comes to cervical cancer, for example, and some of the linkages to breast cancer, ovarian cancer, but also the continuous glucose monitors have not been available, for that many years, and most certainly now will be more available to more people. Monitor an ongoing app. Yeah, because you monitor. There's an app that you use as well. I understand,
Yeah,
correct?
there's an app.
Yeah. Same as what we've done for the 0 to 18 category to date. We'll extend that to 25 years, and then 65 and older. Yeah. And Molly also wears an insulin pump as well, so it's all interconnected. Anything else?
Is the insulin pump a part of it as well?
No, this is for the continuous glucose monitoring. There is a coverage program for the pumps today.
Yeah, I've been covered.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been under the pump program, so my insulin pump is something separate, but they're Bluetooth, they work together. When my pump, or when my Dexcom tells me that my blood sugar is trending a little bit high, my pump automatically gives me a correction of insulin, and vice versa. If I start dropping low, it suspends my insulin. So I've been under the provincial pump program ever since, and it is up to age 25, so thank you for that as well.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Deb and Molly.
Thank you.
Any questions on any other topic?
I have a question about the candidate from Saskatchewan Party, I believe it is, David Buckingham. You're sticking with them, I assume, if you want. And I'm asking what the difference is between Darryl Cooper in 2020, who you removed from as a candidate when he interacted with conspiracy theorists online. And I assume you're sticking with David.
Yeah, so there's an incident a year and a half ago. There's policies that we have when it comes to various things within our caucus, and those policies were very much followed at that point, as it was reported in the news release that we had, where there was apologies offered to the individual, the caucus staff, as well as to colleagues by Mr. Buckingham and another individual at that point in time. And there's sensitivity training that was undertaken. And I would say more broadly, and any of my caucus colleagues are free to speak to their own experiences and their views in their community, in their life, and in their time being a part of this party. And I encourage them to do so now or any day. But from the party's perspective, we very much strive to be a diverse and inclusive party. Very much with the policies that we have enacted with the honor of forming government over the last decade and a half, have strived to include that very diversity, inclusivity into the policies that we put forward on behalf of the people of Saskatchewan. And I would point, most notably to the immigration policies that we put forward. And you see very much, I think, in any community across this province, how Saskatchewan is changing, how our communities are also diverse and also inclusive. And I think you're seeing that very same reflection of what you would see in not only a Saskatoon or Regina, but any Saskatchewan community in our party today. And that that is what we have always strived towards, is to be diverse, but also to be inclusive. As a party, as a governing party, with that honor the last number of years, and we will continue to strive to do that into the future. And so, the difference being, this was an incident, and it was handled as per the parameters that we have in place.
So you never considered removing him as a candidate?
Well, as this happened a year and a half ago, my question was, you know, are all of our policies in place, and are they proper and appropriate?
Were there any candidates that you removed this year for any reason?
No. I don't believe so, but yeah, I don't think so.
Probably not.
Well, I think there's, like, listen, so there's, I'm sure every party has a vetting process that that every potential candidate would go through, and all of the candidates that are standing with me here today would have been through that vetting process as well, to ensure that you know, the candidates that are going into a party nomination have been through that process and meet the criteria that the party would have. And part of that criteria is being inclusive in your life as a representative of your constituency, and that's the policy of the party, and that's going to continue to be the policy of the party. And we would ask, if with the support of Saskatchewan people, if we have the honor to form government again, it'll be the policy of the government moving forward as it has been in the past.
You mentioned diversity and the immigration policy. There's allegations from the speaker that I'm sure you've seen by now about the immigration policy, that certain countries were identified as preferable for immigration. Is there truth to that?
So I haven't seen that memo, and I won't comment on the speaker or his comments or where they may come from. But I did comment, I think as recently as yesterday, on the immigration policies that we do have in this province, and we work closely with the federal government in areas where the province does have some input into the immigration policy and how they are crafted. Obviously, you know, asylum seekers, student visas, and refugee policies are more in the federal scope. However, under the SINP program, which is an economic immigration policy, we very much have been focused on economic immigration in this province, and we feel strongly that economic immigration should be a part of any successful immigration policy, a significant plank or platform in any successful immigration policy, because not only is it a good policy for the individual that may be immigrating and making a home in Saskatchewan, but we would hope that it's their family, that individual's family, that is moving to Saskatchewan and making their home in a Saskatchewan community, and it would be good and beneficial for their family as they make their home in that community and in our province and in our nation. In doing so, they also make for a stronger community and a stronger province and a stronger nation. And so it's really a beneficial policy from an immigration perspective to be focused on economic immigration and all of the other conversations that we have with the federal government and their parameters to focus on that. And that's an ongoing conversation today with other provinces such as Quebec that have some challenges when it comes to asylum seekers and such. And so you need sound immigration policy that is focused on and working towards positive economic immigration that is good for everyone that is involved. I think that might answer your question.
How do you feel about this being dropped during, the campaign?
Well, I'm not going to comment on the timing or the speaker's comments or anything like this. This was an incident that did occur, and downplay it. This is an incident that did occur a year and a half ago, and it was dealt with as per the policies that we have in Caucus. And I'm thankful that we do have those types of policies that we adhere to, and we need to continue to look at them in an ongoing basis, for sure, because it is the policy of this party, and as long as I'm involved, is to be not only a party that is expanding to reflect the communities in Saskatchewan, but it's ensuring that we are expanding in the policies that we are putting forward that are reflective of what Saskatchewan will look like in the future, and to be an inclusive party that is, I think, today very much mirroring what a Saskatchewan community looks like today, which might be different than it did 20 years ago. I would say it looks better.
What is your reaction that this incident took place?
Well, again, my reaction is a year and a half dated, because I was made aware of this a year and a half ago when the apologies were offered, and my reaction was, what are our protocols and what are our procedures internally, and are they followed? And they were. So the reaction today is, again, I'm not going to comment on, you know, the timeliness of the speaker's comments and what he might be, you know, what his motives in that space might be, because my reaction as leader was a year and a half ago when the incident occurred.
Given that it came to light based on Mr. Reese's comments, how do you think your government has handled this incident?
Well, we handled it a year and a half ago as per all of the protocols we have, and so I think it was handled appropriately at that point in time. But I would just reiterate that you know, this is a party, and yes, we have been government for, you know, a decade and a half, and are asking Saskatchewan people to you know, provide us with that honor again as a party and be their voice in the policies that are coming forward. But this is a party that is diverse, and you can see that. In a province that is also diverse, and we see that. And it's a party that is striving to ensure that the policies that we put forward are inclusive for everyone. Whether you be a new Canadian, whether you be from a family like mine that has immigrated a number of generations ago, or whether you be an Indigenous Canadian that is living in the province of Saskatchewan. You see the economic policies that we're putting forward, for example, in attracting a forestry investment in Prince Albert with significant Indigenous ownership. You see very much how Saskatchewan has changed in the last couple of decades in our attitudes, in the policies that are being put forward by a party like ours and the government of the last decade and a half. But I think you're also seeing those very sentiments changing at the community level and the family level. We are an open and inclusive province. We're a growing province, and part of that growth is coming from being open and inclusive.
One more question. When you first heard about this, can you characterize how the conversation went, the first conversation you had with Mr. Buckingham?
Conversation with who? Yeah, so I talked with him as others did when apologies were offered and I was first made aware of this. And my first priorities was, this is terrible. But I know that we do have procedures in place, not only for this, but for, you know, other things that you don't want to happen in any organization, harassment, whatever they might be. We have those procedures in place, and I wanted to ensure that they were followed, and they were. And Mr. Buckingham can speak to what precisely those procedures were and what he entailed. But his apologies were offered to the individual, to other caucus staff as well, all other caucus staff, as well as to all of the folks that he works with, his caucus colleagues.
Does Mr. Buckingham want to address the matter? Sorry? Do you want to address the matter?
And I would offer anybody, if you want to address it, feel free.
So first, I want to apologize again, the same as I did the first day that it happened. It was a really dumb mistake, something that's not okay. You know, we're a country of inclusivity, and my comments talking about that were completely inappropriate. And just as a recap, I was talking about someone else's story, recalling what they had said, and I used a racial slur to do that. Someone overhearing me had a concern with that, rightfully so. I went and I apologized immediately to that person. Immediately, I also addressed the caucus staff because they deserve to know. And as the first opportunity, I addressed my caucus colleagues. Very dumb mistake. One word, and it can change your life. And I'm very sorry to the people involved. I offer my apology again. I wish I could bring it back. Unfortunately, I can't.
What do you say to constituents people who might be considered voting for you before this and now have second thoughts? What would you say to them when their vote back?
Well, I mean, I've worked very hard for them for the last 8.5 years. I would hope, you know, that they would give me a fair chance to represent them as well. I respect them deeply. It's been a very honorable thing for me to represent them for the last 8.5 years. And so, you know, on the doorstep, I want to hear what they have to say, and I want to take that back down to Regina so that we can make life better for everybody in Saskatchewan. That's my goal. That's why I'm here. I have grandchildren. I want this province to be thriving. And I want all of us to work together to do that. So that's what I would say.
Mr. Moe, just a question in general about, there's been some recently, things have come out. It seems like at times it just doesn't make the work environment in Caucus look good. There are allegations about, Mr. Harris's conduct and such. Was there any reflection you did to maybe make the work environment more welcoming and just a better work environment, I guess, overall?
Yeah, there was, even prior to some of, and most of these allegations are coming from one source, and I won't comment on that. But I would say the work environment, whether it be in caucus or whether it be in cabinet or whether it be as candidates in the party, it's an inclusive work environment. And I would also say that we are, very much a team. We don't always, as candidates, get to come together in one location. However, we have, but we do have the opportunity to come together on phone calls and Zoom calls and whatnot, and to talk and listen. I would say that there is opportunities there for anybody to voice not only any concerns they have, but voice important concerns that even more importantly, some of their constituents or residents might have. And so we govern very much as a team, and that is a positive way for, in my view, for any government to operate, is to talk and to listen as importantly as it is to speak back and forth. And so but to your point on the caucus itself, we had put in place just this very last session a number of protocols when it comes to things just like this, and thankfully we did. And thankfully they were followed in this particular case. Unfortunately, they needed to be utilized at one point in time. When we put them in place, it was with the hope that they would never have to be utilized, and that would be my hope moving forward. And as I had said, I had explained what the policy of this party is. And it does not, nor does have room for comments that are in any way derogatory of anyone. This is a party that is respectful. We're respectful of each other as individuals. We're respectful of the people that we represent. We're respectful of the people across Saskatchewan, whether we agree or don't agree. Even the people across the aisle in the legislature, we are respectful of them. And I think that is important, and an important thing for each and every one of us to remember in our daily lives, and certainly a reminder for us today, recounting this incident from a year and a half ago.
And as you kind of maybe touched on it, as leader, was there any, after some of these, was there any reflection where did you feel you needed to make any changes as leader to improve the
There's
situation?
reflection after, any of the incidents that we may have faced in the last couple of years, and you've seen each of them dealt with on their own merits.
We've seen a few focused announcements this week around the topic of healthcare, but we continue to see crises in healthcare throughout the province. What is the Saskatchewan Party going to do on day one for the people of Saskatchewan around the healthcare crisis currently happening?
Well, what you have seen this week, rightfully so, are some very focused announcements today, and among them with the continuous glucose and flash monitors, which is a relatively new piece of innovation that is greatly benefiting people that are living with diabetes in this province, and expanding the program so that more people are able to utilize that and stay out of our emergency departments all too often. We saw that earlier as well this week with the early detection screening kit, at-home screening kit for cervical cancer, and had some great discussion in Regina about the connections, not only that cervical cancer has with ovarian cancer, but also with some of the genetic markers with respect to breast cancer. Again, a new innovation that is, we're only the second province to actually put that forward as being available for Saskatchewan people and Saskatchewan women in that case. Very focused announcements with, I would say, significant impact for women, significant impact for those living with disabilities, as well as a number of other announcements that have significant impact for those that are living with disabilities, for example, and other initiatives. None of those announcements are in the platform of the opposition. However, what I would say more broadly to the effort and the initiative of what this government will do on day one, if we have the honor of forming government, is to expand on what is working. Our Health Human Resource Action Plan, the most ambitious Health Human Resource Action Plan in the nation of Canada, is working with about 1,400 nurses hired in the last 18 months, working in a Saskatchewan Health Association facility and working in a Saskatchewan community offering healthcare services. And we need to make that plan even more ambitious than it is today to ensure that we are decreasing any of the disruptions that we are seeing wherever they might be. One innovation that I've spoken of a number of times is the urgent care center that's up and operating in Regina. New and really hasn't been tried in this province before, and is seeing numbers through the front door that are rivaling that of the Pasco and Regina General Hospital. One coming here in Saskatoon as quick as we were able in a even further unique partnership with Takakuk Cree Developments, who is going to build that facility, and the Saskatchewan Health Authority is going to operate a very similar, almost identical urgent care center out of this location here in Saskatoon, which will help alleviate some of the pressures that we're having in our emergency care rooms here in Saskatoon. One of the things I think we would have very early in that discussion is one in Regina and one in Saskatoon enough? Or do we need another one in each of those communities? Do we need one in Prince Albert? Do we need one in North Battleford? Do we need one in Moose Jaw? And so that's a conversation where we can use what is new and innovative and was essentially announced and put forward as a pilot project, and I would say all today still is, but looking like an extremely successful pilot project is to go in and ask the folks that have used that facility, to ask the folks that are offering services in that facility, should we replicate this? Should we replicate this in the larger communities of Regina and Saskatoon, or should we replicate this also in some of our next largest centers? And so I think there's some real opportunities for us to do some things in the future that we look ahead as opposed to look back. But also ensure that health human resource plan that we have that's focused on retention, recruitment, focused on expanding the training seats that we have here in Saskatchewan is hitting on all cylinders and is really benefiting not only the people that are working in our healthcare facilities by bringing more people to work alongside them, but is benefiting ultimately at the end of the day the patients that are utilizing the service.
And what do you say to healthcare workers currently who are experiencing extreme burnout, patients who are experiencing those long disruption and wait times? What do you say to them, again, for them on day one? How are you going to really help them, basically with the entire system?
We're going to continue to invest in them and the person working on either side of them, and attracting those people and retaining those people in our healthcare system. We're going to continue to invest in the facilities that they're working in so that they can offer, that quality care that we know they strive to and know that they do. And so the investment is going to be there as it has been under a Saskatchewan Party government, but I would say that we're going to bring as well innovation to that conversation as well, like the urgent care centers, like the specific announcements that you've seen this week, so that we're able to utilize all of the tools that we have to keep people healthier and to ensure that our healthcare facilities do have the staff that is necessary to offer the quality of service that we know they do.
Education and healthcare reflect the focus of this campaign. But what about your plans for infrastructure and highways? Because it's like highways drive economies too, right?
Yeah, and I would say, when it comes to infrastructure, there's a number of ways that occurs. Highways budget is one of those, and we have had significant and numerous record budgets when it comes to highways investment, not only in twinning highways like between here and Prince Albert, which has made that highway safer, but it also is a gateway to our northern communities for people and families, but also our northern economy, which is expanding very much in providing the world with energy and food security. That's one of the investments that I think this government would be very proud of. Versus, and again, on October 28th, there is a choice. And, the opposition's record when it comes to investing in highways just is not that strong. In fact, they had one of their individual highways ministers went out and told the community in southwestern Saskatchewan to grab a truck and a load of asphalt and you can go out and fix it yourself. It'll be a good community building exercise. And that isn't the way that this government thinks. This government most certainly is investing in our highways because not only are they economic corridors for expanding our economy, which is expanding and leading the nation in growth, but they're the very same highways that our families travel on. And they need to be safe. And that's why we're twinning highways. That's why we're looking again and bringing innovation to the table with passing lanes that you're seeing between here and Rosetown. You're seeing numerous other highways north of the city, north of Prince Albert, in and around Regina out to the east, making highways safer for the transport goods that are going down them as we export about 70% of what we produce to over 160 countries around the world, but also ensuring that they're safe for our families.
About a year ago, your government announced a plan for homelessness. and I think it was like 2 30-person shelters here in Saskatoon. The preliminary reports we're hearing from the homeless count that's underway right now is that there's 800 homeless.
Oh, yeah.
And in what way do you think your plan is even comes close to addressing the problem?
Well,
Like this in Regina
yeah.
and Prince Albert.
Yeah, well, and we're working with communities Regina, Prince Albert, Moose Jaw, Saskatoon, and others, North Battleford, on locations for homeless shelters, and the size and how you can control the environment around those shelters. But also, I would say, in addition to that plan and working closely, the municipalities have a role to play in that plan and shaping, where these shelters are and how we're going to ensure that the community around those shelters is safe. And that's why you've signed our commitment to policing, which I'll get to in just a moment, and you'll hear more about in the days ahead. Is multifaceted and is also focused on addressing the very root causes of some of the challenges that we're seeing in our community. Some of these, not all, but some of which will cause, to some degree, homelessness. And so it brings you very quickly to the conversation around mental health, which has changed in the last decade and is continuing to change today and much more serious. And all too often, addictions that we see not a community away anymore, but we see it in the community wherever we live, and all too often we see it with our friends and family. And so you have seen significant supports in the way of recovery-based supports in expanding the recovery beds that are available, intensive recovery beds that are available in this province, the entry points and how you can access mental health and addiction services, whether that be through that innovative urgent care center operating in Saskatoon, Regina, soon to be operating in Saskatoon, or whether it be in a more direct way as the complex needs shelters that we have opened both in Saskatoon and Regina, which again is a pilot to see how it works and ask people, if it is working, including our police officers, where people that may be a danger to themselves or someone in their community and often have addictions issues and may be homeless. Rather than being arrested and put in a police cell, are coming to a facility where, yes, there's security, but there is also healthcare supports to ensure that they have those healthcare supports and addiction services to refer them and potentially start them on a path to a recovery. This is a government that most certainly is focused on adding the opportunities for recovery opportunities for Saskatchewan people and lessening the opportunities for them to access drugs. Another significant difference between us and the opposition, who are making drugs more available and will make drugs more available and will make recovery less available. This is a significant difference for Saskatchewan people to consider on October the 28th. In addition to recovery-based care, shelter-based care, transitional care that we're working on transitioning people to whether it be a Sask housing facility, and we saw that pilot program and that initiative going on in Regina, the rent-to-own initiative where we've provided some Sask housing stock to a CBO. But in addition to all of that, we need to ensure that we are keeping our community safe as well, and that's why you have seen us come forward with a plan that will add 350 police officers to Saskatchewan communities, 180 RCMP, over 100 municipal officers, 14 SCAN officers, safer communities and neighborhood officers, as well as 70 marshals. Again, a significant difference from the NDP, who are going to cut police officers and buy a doorbell camera. And Saskatchewan folks know that it isn't a doorbell camera that is going to keep your community and your family safe. And so the Saskatchewan Party is coming forward most certainly with a plan on transitional housing supports, addressing the root causes with recovery supports and capacity, and ensuring that we are funding the police officers that are going to keep your community safe and mine.
But do you think it's enough to address the crisis this year?
Well, you're picking out one support, which is the temporary homeless shelters, which are a transition to maybe assisted living, which are a transition then to maybe living in a Sask housing home and so on. And so what this government and this party would be committed to in the future, and what this government has been committed to in the past, is working with everyone to ensure that we can find those transitional steps. And so what you're speaking of is one of those steps, which is a temporary shelter, of which we have had some challenges with organizations and locations, admittedly, here in the city of Saskatoon, and that is why we very much are looking at shrinking the size of the shelters we have, working closely with the city on the locations, but so that we can control the environment to in and around where they may be located. That's why we're seeing additions of police officers and working closely with municipalities and CBOs, but also ensuring that we're offering the supports that people need. Because at the end of the day, that's what all of this investment is about, is for people to be able to achieve what they might aspire to. And sometimes that is going to take some recovery support. Sometimes that is going to take some mental health counseling. And we want to ensure that those supports are available, and certainly nudge people along so that they are taking those supports. If we can all agree on this, the most vulnerable place for a person is to be living in our streets. We need to do everything that we can to bring them along through the transitional steps so that they are not in our streets. Some of that is recovery supports. Some of that is offering access into our mental health supports that we have. Some of that is, yes, a temporary shelter, moving to some assisted living and so on through those steps. Some of that, unfortunately, is going to be enforcement, because living in our streets is not where we want people to be. We want them to be either in a recovery bed or in front of the medical health professionals that they may require.
So you're confident that all of those things together can address the volume of homelessness in Saskatoon or Regina?
Well, what we're confident in that won't address it is decriminalizing hard drugs, like we've seen NDP governments do in other areas of Canada. What we're confident is that won't work is making drugs more accessible and available to people in our communities. And that is certainly not the track that the Saskatchewan Party is taking. That's the track that the NDP is taking, is making drugs more available and making recovery less available. The Saskatchewan Party is precisely the opposite. We are expanding recovery opportunities, making them more available to our friends and family, and making drugs much harder to get in this province.
I have one question.
Yeah.
What's about that one is living cost, because going day by day is increasing. And do you guys think about that one is if you guys help to the farmers, and our province is agriculture-based province, and if we help to the farmers to add the loan, and they can make the greenhouses and they can grow, that one is vegetables and fruits in our province, then cost of living is goes decrease. What do you guys think about that?
We've done some of just those things in the northern areas of the province where access to affordable food at certain times of the year in particular is challenging. But by and large, we do produce enough food in this province. We export it to over 160 countries around the world. We are literally the bread basket and now the canola oil basket of the world, as well as the energy basket, whether it be uranium, gas and oil, what that might be. And so the opportunities that we have really are around enhancing the opportunities that people have. And unfortunately in our communities, let's call it what it is. The drugs that we're dealing with today are not the drugs of yesterday. They just are not. And they are killing people in our communities, are killing our friends, and all too often our family members. And governments need to get serious about ensuring that we are focused on providing recovery opportunities for our friends and family members, because these drugs are not a community away anymore. And so we need to provide those recovery opportunities. And that is what you are seeing this government do, and that's what you'll see us do if we're elected again on October the 28th. We are also providing over 350 police officers to ensure that we are getting the drugs out of the hands of the drug dealers and giving the resources so that they can have the drug dealers brought out of our communities. We need to be much more serious across Canada, and we are much more serious in this province on dealing with the root causes, which are drugs. You had a question?
The Saskatchewan NDP says it plans to end service disruptions in rural ERs by putting $1.1 billion out there. What's the Saskatchewan Party's plan?
Well, I would say they're coming up short because if you look at the last 4 years, we've invested significantly more than that in the increase, not only in our rural ERs, but in our health system across the board. In fact, over $300 million just in recruiting folks to end those disruptions in our facilities, and expanding the training opportunities that we have for Saskatchewan people in nursing positions and other healthcare positions of all designations right here in Saskatchewan. And so I would say that their commitment comes up short, and it is even shorter when it's part of over $3 billion that is uncosted. They have not costed their platform. They have not been straight with Saskatchewan people on how they would pay for the platform that they would put forward. They did this last time as well to the tune of about $8 billion, but they're over $3 billion short this time. And so until it's properly costed, and this was a highlight in the debate in British Columbia last night where ironically an NDP leader was up asking the Conservative leader to cost his platform. Well, we would ask the same of the NDP opposition party here in this province is be straight and honest with Saskatchewan people. Tell them where the money is going to come from, because if you can't explain and cost your platform, it's not real. And so the $1.1 billion is not real. And even if it was, which it isn't, it still comes up short from the increases that you've seen from a Saskatchewan Party government over the course of the last 4 years. And I would say you're going to see all of that and more over the next while, utilizing the innovation that we have available today that maybe just simply wasn't available 10 years ago. I brought up the urgent care centers and different ways to deliver care through the public system, which are working and working quite well.
NDP also says that the Saskatchewan Party stalled it in signing onto the National Pharmacare Plan, which they say will go along with something.
We have, ironic today with the announcement that is here. Again, the announcement of expanding the continuous glucose and flash monitors. It's not part of the NDP platform. They did not commit to this. They did not commit to at-home cervical testing for potential, to early detect potential cancer diagnosis. They did not commit to that. It's not in that unfunded commitment that they had. And so, here is a Saskatchewan Party government being very specific with what we are going to do in this case with people that may be living with diabetes, yesterday for people that may be living with disabilities, and most certainly all last week talking about how we can make life more affordable for families, for individuals, for young people, for seniors, and for everyone that lives in this province, and it will all be costed at the end, which makes it real. Which makes the commitments that this party makes to the people of Saskatchewan honest, and makes the commitments that this party makes to the people of Saskatchewan real. And this is very much unlike the uncosted, reckless spending, and irresponsible platform that the NDP opposition has put forward.
When can we expect the fully costed plan?
Not too distant future. When we find our way through the commitments that we very earnestly are making to Saskatchewan people, we will, like every other election that we have ran in, put forward our fully costed platform, unlike the reckless spending and irresponsible platform that is not uncosted and is missing over $3 billion that the NDP had put forward.
We've just interviewed a young person from Saskatchewan who wants to see a bit more additional health resources in Saskatchewan, Indigenous communities as well as rural communities. What do you say to both of them?
Yes. Yes. Not just in northern Saskatchewan and Indigenous communities, but of which I've visited a number over the course of the last number of years. But we need to work collaboratively, not only with the local community, and I would say take guidance from the local community, but also when it comes to Indigenous communities, there is a third partner that we need to work with that operates healthcare in Indigenous communities, and that's the federal government. Now, we are starting to break down those barriers we see an announcement just south here that is going to impact northern communities with the care that is offered with the virtual healthcare center that will be operated out of Dakota Whitecap, but is going to service virtually any community potentially in the province, but a number of not only northern communities, but also a couple of remote southern communities as well. And so again, bringing innovation to the table, but bringing a commitment from this government that in addition to dealing with some of the subsequent causes of mental health challenges that our family members and friends and community members, wherever you might live, and we are aware of the challenges in northern Saskatchewan, that we're bringing innovation to that table, and we're bringing a commitment from this government to keep investing in the people that live here and the services that they need. That's why you've seen the investment in the urgent care centers. That's why you've seen the recovery focused investment. Part of that recovery care is mental health addictions. That's why in those urgent care centers, 30% of the footprint is specifically for the intake of someone that may be having a mental health crisis and requires a counselor of some type or a medical health practitioner or provider, that we can take them by the hand and provide them with that service. If they unfortunately have entered a life of addictions, we'll guide them to a detox or a recovery bed upon their entry. That is an access point to get to the capacity that we are building behind that access. But we need to do more of that and look at how we can incorporate that into not just the urgent care centers and our larger centers, but incorporate that same system into our smaller centers and maybe our rural and remote centers. And I don't know if that's going to be through the virtual care or what, but there's more conversation to happen here. It needs to happen, and this is a government that is committed to that recovery recovery-based care and that focus on recovery-based care, but also that focus on ensuring that our communities are safe.